Hi everyone, welcome to our feature in focus today. Today we are going to have further conversations about the Selective Task Transfer feature. Again, I want to welcome Anna, who's joined me today to talk about this feature and how it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. So welcome, Anna. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Okay. We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we all meet today, and we'd like to pay our respect to elders past and present. You both, or if you've been to any of the other webinars, you know Anna and I both by now, but just for those who haven't met Anna yet, Anna is our Executive Director of Business Development, and she comes with over 25 years experience of working with health and community services. And Anna's true passion lies with empowering organisations to think differently about quality, safety and risk. So no one better to help me demonstrate how this feature is going to make everyone's life a lot easier. Before we get into it, I just want to again remind everyone that we do record this session, and it is about, we'll send that out to you post the webinar. So share it around. If anyone has anyone in their team that needs to know about this, please share that link or direct them to the Academy. It's on there as well. And if you do have any questions for us, Anna will monitor the questions throughout, so pop them in the chat or pop them in the Q&A. We will absolutely try to get to them all, but if we don't, we'll pop them in a Q&A as well. But otherwise, they'll be included in the recording and you can have a look at them that way. So just a reminder that we did shift our focus a little bit for this new series of webinars, and we're really going to take a deep dive into a specific area of the platform every month. And each of the webinars for that month will look at that particular area from a slightly different perspective. So we've got two masterclasses, which will focus on the why and the how of that particular area. Then we've got our feature and focus. That's either going to highlight something new that the dev teams released in that time period, or that's coming in the next week or so, or we're going to draw your focus on something that is in logic that we might kind of overlook sometimes when we're just busy with our day-to-day. And then the last webinar of the month is all about the clinic. So that's where we really hope that you bring your problems or the complexity that you have with either that area that we're talking about or the feature, and you want to see how that works for you. So anyone here today that are planning to join us next week, if you have some questions that you want to throw our way, please do that. Pop them either in the chat today and let us know it's for the clinic, or email us at customersuccess@logic.com.au and we can prepare some of those questions and have them ready for next week. Reminder, the clinics don't get recorded because we do have everyone's mics open and cameras on, so we can have a good old chat about that particular issue. So please throw your questions out there and come in and join us on that one as well. Okay, so without further ado, we'll get onto it and go and have a look at what we're talking about today, and I'll hand over to Anna.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So as Elizabeth said, we're going to take a deep dive into selective task transfer and broaden it out just really in general to be talking again about how do we make changes to tasks that are assigned to people in the system. This would have to be one of the sort of big areas of the system where we get requests through help desk to sort of say, hey, we've had someone leave the organisation, we need to reallocate their tasks. They're not all going to go to the new position, or our current position that's finishing isn't going to be the same as the new position we're bringing on. So we need to rethink how we've allocated the tasks for a whole range of reasons. They've got hundreds of tasks in the system that need to be managed that were previously assigned to somebody else, who now we need to rethink how they're going to be managed. So we're going to start with the new feature that Dev has recently developed, which is selective task transfer. So I'm going to ask Elizabeth a series of questions. Also, I'm going to take her through a scenario and give her quite a complex scenario, one that I think that is typical or imaginable, and see how we go. So Elizabeth, what I want to start with is if we could look at that new feature and focus, selective task transfer. I want to look at this in the in terms of what its main purpose is. If you could describe for me why would I typically use this feature or what it's been designed for.
Okay, so for everyone, just to find some clarity, the selective task transfer is in admin mode, and it still sits within this task management component, which is at the left-hand bottom corner of the left navigator pane. Previously, when we used this feature, inevitably all the tasks that were associated, and you can choose whether you want to do tasks that that person had to action or where they were the manager or the owner for. And then, so we'll just use manage, for instance, and then we'll choose the register that it's from, and then we would choose that position that is now vacant. So, or from who we want to transfer that task. So if I just use Rachel as by way of example here, then we can see here that Rachel has a number of documents here that she has responsibility for. And previously, we would have transferred all of these documents. But as Anna said, there's some scenarios where, yes, it's a straight swap from Rachel's position from the one incumbent to the other. So there's not necessarily a need for us to do this, or someone's going to temporarily take over so we can hand over all of those things while we recruit. But sometimes we don't want to give everything to the new incumbent because inevitably throughout Rachel's service with the organisation, she's inherited some things that she's better at doing or that she had some real expertise in or that she was the subject matter of. And now selective task transfer allows us to go and say, I only want the following tasks to be transferred from Rachel, and we select who that new person is. So it's no longer a full switch. We can now choose what it is that we want to move to from Rachel to any of the other members of our team.
Okay, so that's really in relation to managing when we want to move it from one person to the next. But now I'm going to give you a scenario, Elizabeth, where I think it's quite common. So Shortland Street, who we're in at the moment, what it's decided to do is to elevate infection prevention and control as a new business area. It's decided that this is in and of itself, it's necessary to make it its own business area so that we can see it. We can see everything that relates to IPC in the system. And previously, IPC wasn't a business area, it was subsumed under other areas. So the challenge is if the executive team of Shortland Street decided to establish a dedicated IPC team, and it was their responsibility to manage all things related to IPC. So we're going to bring together about 4 or 5 people from the organisation, set up a team, and they're going to manage everything that relates to IPC, accreditation standards. We want them to manage anything that relates to documents, risks, audits, compliance, anything that relates to IPC. I want to be able to start to do that. So in terms of where would I start? What would be the first thing that I would want to do?
Well, I guess we need to understand the quantity of, well, we need to understand where these things sit currently. And one of the ways that we can find that is we could use our bulk edit function right at the top of our screen, and we can look at those, use the filters to really find where these things currently sit. So if we look at our current business areas, we do have infection control. We know that we want to enhance that and change the business area to infection prevention and control. And we want to create a whole team around that. And we want to potentially allocate those to the person that we're going to put in this role. So if we click on infection control and we click on search, we're going to get that really clear understanding of what sits in what was previously or if what is still the infection control business area that we want to change inevitably to IPC. So that again gives us in alphabetical order all of the things. So we can see we have an asset, which is the autoclave machine. We've got audits. We've got some documents that are sitting in the infection control business area. we had some incidents that occurred, records, a repair, and then we have a staff member there. So we know that we have one person that's currently sitting in that team, and that may very well be the new person that's been recruited to support this change in the organisation.
So, Elizabeth, can you show me first off? I'd like to sort of go, okay, I really want it in the first position, get it to IPC. I don't want to call it infection
Okay,
control. That's language of the past. How do I do that? And then I'm going to ask you a question about how do I establish a team?
great. So in admin mode, again, for those users, if you don't have that access, we need to talk to someone in the organisation that does. In our system settings, what we want to do is come to our secondary business areas, because that's where IPC or infection control currently sits. And what we can do is we can amend that button, that label, to now be infection prevention and control.
And will that change everything in the system where it previously was infection control?
Correct. That will change everything where it previously was infection
Right.
control if we press that save button.
Okay, and now I want to set up a team. I want to know who's in there. I want to put people into the IPC team.
Okay, great. So again, in admin mode, we want to come to our teams and see if we've already got something that is established that where that team would fit in. And when we look down the left-hand side, we can see that we don't. So what we want to do is we want to add that new team. And clicking on the add team icon will give us an opportunity to create that team.
You can call it IPC team. They all like to be
Yeah,
called.
we can.
Yeah. They like that. Okay.
Right.
Now,
So now
I know the team members I want to put into them. How do I do that?
Great. So once we've got that team established, clicking and opening that link to the 0 users will give us the option to add the members of our team. So who do we have, Anna?
Oh, okay. We have one of the nurses. Can't remember her name, but if we scroll down, you'll see the position title. Sorry, can't remember the people's
That's
names.
okay. Oh, we might, is it Lucy or Margaret?
Yeah, I'm happy with Lucy. Oh, Margaret's our IPC. She's
Great.
Margaret is our IPC, and I wouldn't mind a second nurse, Lucy.
Add Lucy.
And I also want to add Georgina. She's on our quality team. She is involved. She sort of is helping them out in Clementine.
And I think we should put Leslie in there too, who's that new nurse practitioner.
Okay. Oh, yeah, well, she's got IPC in her name.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, she's going to be,
Okay.
she's that new position that they created.
Obviously,
Right.
in the real world, we would know who all those people are. Great. So we've got 5 people in the teams. That's fantastic.
Okay, so that means that anytime we assign access control to the IPC team, those 5 people will have visibility over any of those items.
So what I want to do now, Elizabeth, is I want to make sure that everything in the system that is assigned, like for documents, that is assigned to IPC as a business area, I want them to be going to at least one of those people in the teams. I don't want them going outside of the team. The head of the team could be Leslie, if she's the IPC lead. So if we could make her the manager of everything that's IPC, and the other things could be the action officers, can be any of the others that we've chosen.
Okay, so let's use our filter again and go to what we've now got as our IPC, and just click on search. So now we know that all of those documents that Anna was referring to are sitting in the right area, but their document manager is currently Rachel. So what we would do is we would use our selective transfer, and we would pick the managed documents because we saw that they were all in there. And they are, of course, the document register, and we know that they are sitting with Rachel.
Could we use bulk edit though? Wouldn't that be faster?
Probably in this instance, because we don't want to select them, do we? We know exactly where they are. So let's use bulk edit. And we use our filter here to search on our IPC, new IPC. There we've got all of those documents that are sitting with Rachel, and we want to bulk edit them and make their manager Leslie. So we know that there's only the 8, if there was more and if they did go over 2 pages, what you can do is you can just expand your page view here and still use the top clicker in that top layer. That'll expose our edit button right next to the add document. And what we want to do is we want to change that document manager to Leslie. There we go. The notification will tell us that we're changing 8 items, and if we agree with that, we can proceed. And those 8 managed document item tasks were now moved from Rachel, and they're currently sitting with Leslie. So now we know that Leslie will be the manager of all of those IPC related documents as we move forward.
So if we go back to the global filter, we could find out what other registers have got IPC, because that's going to be our first area that we want to change things on. Great. So we've done the documents, which we know are Z8. Then we've got 9 audits. Could we do the audits, Elizabeth?
Yep, absolutely. So we, again, we can go and use and choose to use those audits through the bulk edit functionality, or if we wanted to go and selectively transfer them, of course, we can do that too. So again, in our audit register, what we want to do is use our filter and find our IPC. And then we can see we've got some in progress and in our schedule. So let's pop these in first so they can go straight to Leslie.
Are they in the action stage though? And they are. Can we give those to, yeah, can we, well, when we swap them over, will we give the action? Oh, you can use both, can't you? Edit, use the edit and find out who's actioning and who's, all right. Yep, sorry.
Yep. So we can change the action officer and change it to, we might give it to Lucy.
Yep.
And we'll update those. So we've got 3 items that are going to Lucy, and we can do the exact same task and make the approval officer Leslie. So if they were in the action stage and Rachel was going to be the approver, that'll now be Leslie. So again, we're moving it all to that particular team so that they are managing all of those tasks for us.
And now we need to do the schedule.
Correct.
Because they were the ones current.
And we can see there, because we have a monthly one, that Leslie's been changed to the approver. We can't bulk edit that schedule because it is currently sitting with Lucy. Well, no, it is. It's sitting with Lucy. So that's all good. That's exactly what we wanted to achieve. Thought it was someone else.
Yep. All right. So back up to the filters again, up to global, and see what else is left in the system that we can change over.
Correct. So we've changed all those audits. We've got that asset. That's probably should sit with that team. The incidents are both closed. So what we could probably do in this is make sure that any future incidents are now going to go to that team instead of where it used to go. The records are associated with the audit, so that will automatically now sit within that right space with the correct people. We had a repair of our sterilizer, and then of course we have our user.
So with the asset, it's probably because there's only one. It's probably best just to do it from here, that we can just change it over to the people in the team.
Correct. We can then click on that asset name and we can make sure that we assign it to the right people.
Okay, great. So yep.
And the compliance review can stay with Rob, but we'll change that asset owner to Leslie. So it sits ultimately within that asset, that IPC group of people.
So Elizabeth, we've had a question on the chat, and it talks about, can we change the action officer or the approval officer in closed items on events such as incidents? And the answer is no.
No, because those items are done. They are they're completed, and the systems event history is that they need to remain as that. The only things that you can change on those you can change the categorization in the event that that was an incorrect category, or we can change the business area from what it was, infection control, to IPC. But the only things that you can change is you can add additional comments or you can add additional records to maintain the integrity of that incident and how it was closed and how it was dealt with at the time.
Okay, so the next comment on that same one was sometimes feedback resurfaces and perhaps a new manager needs to know the history. So I think what we could say though is that they'll need to rely on the category rather than on the people.
Yeah.
But let's say in response to that though, let's say we've got business rules set up to go to those people, and how do we manage that? So we've got this complexity where we've got possibly an IPC incident coming in, and now it's still going on the business rules of sending it to Rachel. How do we get it such that it's actually going to be surfacing? It's going to be sent to Leslie, not Rachel.
Okay, I will go straight to that. But in response to that question of around the feedback as well, if we ensure that the closed feedback, to ensure that when it resurfaces, it is visible to that new manager, we just need to check the access control. And if that new manager is included in the access control, they will have access to that closed event. So that's a way that we can safeguard against that as well.
Great. So what you're saying is that on the even though it's closed, we can change the permission levels to enable that the new manager can see things. Okay,
Correct.
could you just show us that?
Yep.
Could you open up, let's say all IPC incidences should now belong, that Leslie should have visibility of all past IPC events.
Okay, so let's have a look at our filter and where is my business area? There we go, and find that business area. I think I'm.
Oh, maybe we've had
There's
I think
nothing
what's happened
sitting
is we
there.
haven't had, yeah, we've had no
Hmm.
IPCs. Maybe over in feedback we've had an IPC
Let's
incident.
go and have a look.
Yeah. So what we're seeing there, everyone, is that when Elizabeth, the business areas are only selecting the ones that have actually been assigned incidents
Yes.
to.
Similarly, there was
Okay,
nothing
so
under
let's
the feedback.
pretend. Let's pretend one of those other groups is for that it relates. Let's say because it doesn't really matter, but let's say it is the GP clinic, and let's assign that as
Yep.
let's pretend that's IPC. Okay.
Okay.
So
So what you would do is you would,
Yep.
yeah, in those closed GP clinic ones. So let's say we've got a new doctor and they need to be aware of all of this feedback. Then what we can do is we can make sure that if we want to select them all, of course, we can only select those that we want to select, but we can click on the edit icon and we can change the permission. So we can specify that we might not want to change the teams, but we might want to include that particular individual. So I'm still going to use Leslie as our example.
Yep.
And update that. That means the 11 items will now have visibility for Leslie. So Leslie, as a new staff member, might still have to have a little bit of education around if it's a closed feedback item, that's the tab that you're going to try and find it in.
Right.
Or if she uses her search, of course, it will come up. But that answers the question that feedback that does come back, it does give that person the story.
And I think that was the question they were really actually asking, how to change the visibility settings, not the sort of action officer and approval officer, which is great. Okay, now I want to make sure that all IPC events that are going to come forward, that people are going to report, I want to make sure that they are going to go to the IPC team. So I want them to be going to the business rules. I want them set up so that they go to the IPC team and that they are reported to Leslie, and Leslie can then delegate within the team who's going to respond to those IPC events. How do I do that?
Okay, so in admin mode, on the left-hand side of our navigator pane, we'll find our business rules, and we've, of course, have them for all of our registers. So the one that we want to look at here today and use our edit pen for is the incident register. That will expose the 6 that we do have. So there's a couple of things that we have to look at here. If there is any that are currently sitting with IPC, and we can see that there isn't, if there's any that are currently being reported to IPC, and we can see that there isn't. So to ensure that anything that relates to infection prevention and control goes to Leslie, what we want to do is we want to build a new rule. And we can do that by clicking on the Add Business Rule. So we know that what we want to achieve here is we want to say if anything relating to IPC happens, then we want it reported to Leslie. So I'm going to leave my incident type blank because I want incidents, near misses, and hazards to go to Leslie. I'm going to find my IPC related incidents. And I'm just going to think about what they are. They're not in clinical. Maybe they're in health and safety.
Oh,
Here
great,
we
there they
go.
are.
So there they are. All of our infection control related incidents. We're going to be sending them to Leslie. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the only one. We might send other things to her as well that relate to, like in this instance, for instance, inadequate cleaning protocols.
Yep.
And the like. So you'll have a good look through this around everything that you do want to send to Leslie. And once you've made that decision, we will report it to Leslie. We can set up a fallback person, and we might make that Georgina in case that Leslie leaves the organisation or her position changes. We know that it's not going to sit with a vacant position. We'll send it to IPC. Here we go. And we can send it to a meeting. Now, we haven't got an IPC meeting. So at the moment, that's something that we can fix. But what we can do is we can just send it to the clinical review. We can make sure that the IPC team is the one that knows, or the team that has visibility over that. And of course, yes,
Elizabeth, before you press the button though, if we left the meeting blank and went over and then set up the meeting, could we come back to the business rule and put the right meeting in?
Absolutely. We could absolutely do that, because
I
that
wouldn't
meeting
mind
field's
having an
optional for us.
IPC meeting.
Yep, I agree. I think that's a really good choice to have everything sitting on their agenda.
Yep.
So we've just got to ensure that we add to any previous results unless we want to override. So if in the event that we want to escalate, we can override and replace those results. And we can, of course, let anyone know. So we might choose to let some of the IPC team, they're going to know, but maybe we just want to make Georgina aware, so she can actually go in and have a look at that as soon as it's been reported. The rest of the IPC team will see it, of course, but we might want to just include that. Pressing save at the bottom, making sure
so now we've got all IPC events that are reported. Would that be just incidents, or is that all events?
Nope, that's only the incidents. We'll need to do the same if there's any feedback or improvements, or any of the IPC assets are damaged. We can do that for the other registers as well.
So can we now go over and set up our team?
Our meeting. Yeah.
Our meeting, sorry, yeah, and invite people to the meeting. I think they should meet every fortnight.
Okay.
You can choose the date and time. Actually, to the end of the week in Thursday afternoons at 3.
Right. Okay. So in our system settings, what we want to do is in that core system menus, we want to add the meeting title for the IPC meeting by clicking Add a Label, clicking OK, and again clicking Save at the bottom of our screen. So we know now we can pick up that IPC and it's going to generate an agenda. I've left admin mode and I'm coming to the left under Organisation where I want to set up that meeting. I can see all the meetings that we already have, but I want to create that IPC. That's the one I can pick up, and I want to pick up all of those people that are involved in that meeting.
So Leslie, Lucy, Clementine, Georgina, and Margaret.
Yeah, and Margaret, that's correct. They're our team. We'll make Leslie the chair. She's the IPC lead. We said we want them to meet on did you say Friday, Anna?
Thursdays at 3.
Thursdays at 3 p.m. Oh. And are they going to meet every week or fortnightly?
Fortnightly, no end.
Great. And we're going to give them 3 days. So we're going to let them know 3 days in advance that their meeting is happening, and it's happening every second week on a Thursday. And we're not going to let that stop. As long as we've got this team and we have these obligations under infection prevention and control, we want that meeting to run.
Fantastic.
Great.
Now can we go back to our business rule?
Absolutely. We can go back to that business rule and amend that to include the IPC meeting. There we go. We've got that saved. And the next thing that we need to do is go back and change anything that sits in that IPC business area. So those documents that are going to be reviewed through that business area, they need to go to that meeting as well.
Oh, good thinking.
Okay, so we'll do that via bulk edit. Now we know that we've got those documents and they are our IPC. You can see how my filter stuck around from when we did it a little bit earlier when we moved it from Rachel. So what we can do is use bulk edit and edit the field so that it sits under the IPC meeting agenda.
Beautiful.
And now, again, when that team looks at their meeting agenda, they'll see all of the items that relate to them.
Hey, great.
Right. So now they know what their responsibilities are when they have their meeting next week.
That was great, Elizabeth. I know it's pretty hard to do all of that when someone's just asking you the question and you've got a second to make it up. So you did really well. Thank you. But it really shows you just the complexity also in that all the little bits and pieces that you have to change. Hey, you got to clap there. Great.
And sometimes sometimes you just think about not the easy things, but the things that come naturally, like changing the document manager. But you make the team because you want that visibility. But we did not think about the meeting until we had to build the business rules. So it is really important that we think about all of those aspects as they present.
Well, I just hope that what this has given to people is a sense of how we can help, and that with next week's meeting with the clinic, and that really is, as Elizabeth said before, bring the complexity to that session and have a conversation about how to manage that. And it, there might be we could possibly come up with a list of 12 things that you should do if you're going to try and change something, like we've just done now, all the little bits and pieces as a guide. But anyway, over to you, Elizabeth, to close.
No. So, yep, as Anna said, please bring your complexity next week so we can have a conversation with you and we can resolve that and we can talk about it as a group. And really, because the thing that is complex for you might be complex for 10 other people in the room. And there are some resources here that's just going to, again, remind you and help you around how we make those changes. They'll be in your recording, but also in the Logic Academy if you need them. Other than that, please contact us on customersuccess@logic.com.au, or if it's technical, support@logic.com.au. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, Anna. Thanks for joining me again.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, everyone. Ciao.
See you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.